Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Sanders. Tonight on the Now, Bakersfield. As we become more and more of a society that barely uses cash for purchases, what does this mean for our kids? We take a look at what this could all mean for their spending habits. And local Congressman Kevin McCarthy has a plan for the money that was going to be used for the high-speed rail project, where he wants the money to go next. Plus, a local basketball team is heading to compete in the state championship game. How their town celebrated the send-off. That's all ahead on the Now Bakersfield. Chris.
New online banks are popping up. Let's take a look at our lineup here on the Now. They offer to help you save more money. What you should know before opening an account. Look, we'd all love to travel more, but it can be pretty expensive. We're going to show you how you can do it by just taking care of people's pets while traveling. We're going to introduce you to someone who's actually doing this and showing whether or not this is something that could work for you. Also, people around the world now crowding around phones and computers for story time. Now, while one school principal is making sure all her students receive the gift of reading via the internet. We're going to get to that here on the Now.
Let's start the Now with a look at a growing trend in the economy. The phrase cash is king is dwindling as more stores are going cashless, but is moving towards a cashless society a good thing or a bad thing? Scripps reporter Ed Riley has more on what this all means as a consumer and how it's impacting spending habits for our kids.
It's a life lesson for everything that we all do.
It's becoming a cashless society with the increasing use of credit cards, home computers, and cell phones to make purchases. But young children are watching, and many worry the kids are growing up thinking everything can be bought with a plastic card or the push of a button.
The kids think money come out of like magic, out of ATM machine.
Gaetana Schuckler co-owns the Treehouse Toy Store in Buffalo. She has seen the change. Fewer kids now come in with allowance money.
Can't you just scan it or charge it?
Schuckler once stocked dozens of toy cash registers and play money. Now, she hardly sells any.
At a young age, it makes such a huge impression for a lifetime.
Dr. Christine Wang is the director of the UB Early Childhood Research Center. She, too, is concerned because technology hides the flow of money.
Kids are interested in where the money comes from, right? Where we got stuff.
And that explanation can start when children are in preschool, something the center does with its children in a make-believe pet store.
If I wash it, it's $4. If you wash it, it's $5.
They may not understand perfectly, but it is the first step to making a correlation between earning and spending.
We should not treat it as a taboo topic and treat it as any other life topic.
When getting cash from an ATM, explain how money needs to be in the account first. And when using credit, tell your child how it must be paid back.
Kids need to develop the knowledge, develop the understanding.
Earning an allowance and saving it can help grow a child's money skills.
New tonight on the Now, House Minority Leader and local Congressman Kevin McCarthy has introduced legislation today that would help repurpose recovered federal funding from the high-speed rail project to critical water infrastructure projects here in California. According to a statement released by McCarthy's office today, the proposed Railway Act would end the federal government's involvement in the high-speed rail by repurposing up to $3.5 billion in recovered federal funding for the project. That money, according to McCarthy, would then be used for water storage projects. When those water storage projects are completed, McCarthy says they could provide 5 million acre-feet of additional water storage in our state. McCarthy ended his statement by saying, quote, this is a far better use of taxpayer money that can address more important needs in our state. And the McFarland High School girls basketball team received a police escort this morning on their way to their historic championship game. The basketball team is on a historic run to Sacramento after a comeback win against Palisades Tuesday night in the SoCal Regional Championships. The girls punched their program's first ticket to the state championship game with a 68-66 win. This morning, that team headed off to Sacramento. They were escorted around the city by police cars. The McFarland Unified School District has suspended all classes this Friday, March 8th, to allow students and families to travel to the game. And county firefighters were out on the streets with their helmets in hand to collect money for local cancer patients. They raised nearly $5,000, all thanks to the community's generosity. Firefighters were out at different intersections yesterday from 7 a.m. to noon for the annual Fire Up the Camp Out Against Cancer campaign. Volunteers work to fill their helmets for the Kern County Cancer Fund. Businesses located inside the River Lakes Galleria Shopping Center on Olive and Callaway also donated 20% of the sales towards the cause. And robots that drive themselves could soon be the future of deliveries. Several four-wheeled and flying gadgets are ready to in use or undergoing testing. FedEx is experimenting with this same-day delivery bot. It can go as fast as 10 miles per hour and can carry about 100 pounds and even climb stairs. FedEx plans to test the same-day bot in Memphis, Tennessee before expanding. Amazon is also testing something similar, a six-wheeled machine called the Amazon Scout. And the company is also promising deliveries from the sky via drone. One drawback, however, with the drones, they can only carry items under 5 pounds. And Chick-fil-A is also going to be the temporary home of the fish fillet. The fast food restaurant is adding fish sandwiches to the menus of some of their restaurants for Lent. The fried cod sandwiches will be sold along with 2- and 3-count fish entrees. Lent is the 6 weeks before Easter, where some Christians abstain from certain activities and foods. Chick-fil-A will keep the fish sandwich on its menu until Saturday, April 20th. Once again, this seasonal item is only being offered at limited locations. Chris?
We're seeing more online-only bank account offers. The advantage is that you'll actually get more money back. On average, online banks are offering around 1.5% on checking accounts and more than 2% on savings. But before you sign, there are a couple things that you need to know. The first one kind of sounds obvious, to be honest, but you do really need to do your homework to find out if it is a bank or a credit union. The offers may be real. These accounts may be investment accounts, though, and the main thing you need to know about those is that they aren't insured by the FDIC, meaning your money's not protected. And just because a company is offering checking and savings accounts doesn't mean you're going to automatically be able to open one. Some financial tech companies are trying to get into the banking business, and they can legally offer the accounts, but they can't actually open them until they get approval. A red flag in this case is being put on a waiting list. And you also want to make sure that the account doesn't cap your balance. A bank may apply rules that only allow you to earn interest if you have a certain amount in your account. Your savings won't grow very much. Now, there are a lot of startup online banks out there, and if you're not sure where to start, well, look at ones that are established or backed by established banks. Goldman Sachs, for example, offers a 2.25% back on savings. HSBC, well, just slightly lower at 2.22% back on savings. And American Express offers 2.10% back. Still ahead in our lineup, people getting to travel more by taking care of other people's pets. We're meeting somebody who's doing this next. Let's start the Now News feed. Civil rights advocates want a Virginia Confederate statue off of public land. The ACLU wants this Robert E. Lee statue moved in Richmond. Now the state considering new regulations for protests at that monument. Obviously been a hot topic. Well, this winter setting records across the country. Scientists say it is now the wettest winter on record. Last month especially, 19 states had one of their top 10 wettest Februarys ever. Scary dashcam video out of Los Angeles. Rush hour road rage. A man appearing to approach a driver with a gun. Traffic was at a standstill. The two exchange words, and the man with the gun gets back in the car and drives away. Well, a town in New Jersey taking an aggressive approach to dealing with overly noisy dogs. The Saddle River Council put time restrictions on how long a dog can bark, howl, or yelp before the owner gets in trouble. 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the time of day. The owners could get anywhere from a fine to jail time, depending on how often it happens. Well, money is usually what stops us from planning and going on that awesome vacation. But now there's a service that's helping people travel the world by having them take care of other people's pets, even the not-so-traditional ones. The Now's Corey Rangel showing us how it works.
Andrea Sachs is a travel reporter for the Washington Post. She's been all over the world, but a recent trip to South America gave her a unique experience.
It would combine my two great loves, which would be animals and travel. So as a travel writer and growing up traveling, that's what I love to do. And when I'm not traveling, I take care of other people's pets because I travel so much I can't have my own.
Andrea flew all the way to Ecuador just to watch someone's dog, Fisher. She watched him for free, and in exchange, they let her stay at their home at no cost.
I thought, you're really going to let me travel anywhere in the world and take care of your animal?
Andrea used a service called Trusted House Sitters.
Not only do the owners get the care for their pets that they want to, the sitters have a unique experience. They get to visit a place and get to see and explore that place.
Trusted House Sitters lets people travel to 130 different countries. The pets can be just as diverse.
Horses, chickens, dogs, cats, birds, and anything, as I say, if it lives and breathes and it's a pet and it's, has an owner, then we will look after it.
Both the pet owners and sitters have to pay a yearly membership fee of $119. Pet sitters also have to pay for their own travel, food, and all other costs except for the place to stay, which can save hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the trip. For Andrea, she's already thinking about her next travel plans.
I have been looking at Australia and Barcelona, maybe do a weekend in London with a Pomeranian. Because you can.
Pet owners and sitters can meet online through video chat beforehand, and the site offers different levels of background checks. For The Now, I'm Corey Rangel.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg has announced a new focus for his social media platform, and it comes down to one word: privacy. After trying to connect the world, the new strategy will be to help users conduct private conversations that even Facebook can't listen in on. The platform has become one of the world's wealthiest companies by finding ways to collect personal data. How they plan to make money with this plan, well, that wasn't revealed. But the new move towards privacy and encryption could make it harder for federal regulators to break up Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Facebook has lost 15 million U.S. users since 2017. And a new study has found an increased risk of Alzheimer's in women being treated with hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, but doctors are saying patients shouldn't panic. They believe HRT is a safe treatment for most women with menopause symptoms, and the increased risk for Alzheimer's is extremely low. The chief scientific officer of Alzheimer's research in the UK points out that the study wasn't able to show the hormone therapy was the cause for the increased risk. Well, we've had several storms soaking the county, and we have more on the way. Here's the Now's Allison Gargaro with a look at your forecast.
We are checking our next winter storm moving into the county. Now, this one not going to be bringing as much precipitation as that atmospheric river that we saw earlier this week that brought that flooding up in the Kern River Valley, but it is still going to be bringing the potential for some light rain as well as the chance for snow in the mountains. So we're going to be seeing that light rain here in the valley till around 10:30 this evening, and then all of that precipitation looks to be centered right over our mountains. And as temperatures cool as we head into the overnight hours, that snow level is going to be dropping down to 3,000 feet. So that means we are going to be seeing a lot of snow up in those higher elevations with the chance to see up to 2 inches along the passes overnight. That will be impacting the I-5 as well as Highway 58 along the Tehachapi Pass. So that does bring up a winter weather advisory impacting the Kern County mountains. We have the potential for some black ice as well as windy conditions, because as soon as temperatures rise above that freezing point as we head into your Friday afternoon, any of that snow along the passes will be melting. So we do have the chance to see that black ice. So just something to keep an eye on as we head into your Friday. And associated with this storm, also going to be very strong winds, but on the back end of the system. So looks like we're going to be clearing by 10 a.m. on Friday. That's when this wind advisory begins, and will be continuing until 10 p.m. on Friday in our mountain and desert cities. They could actually be seeing gusts reaching up to 50, potentially even 55 miles per hour. So just make sure that you are driving safe, especially over the passes. Then we are tracking our next storm. We're going to be staying dry on Saturday, but our next storm going to be a coastal hugger. So keeping most of that precipitation out of Kern County, but that doesn't mean that we won't be seeing some light rain here in the valley with the chance to see a little bit of snow in the mountains. Then we are going to be dry on Monday and tracking yet our next system moving into the county on Tuesday. But I want to talk about temperatures. So yesterday we had a high of 72 degrees. Today we were down 10 degrees below that. And look at this. Temperatures are only going to be in the upper 50s by your Friday, and we're going to be holding on to those temperatures throughout Sunday, and then Monday drying up, warming up just slightly. And then as we head into your Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it looks like we are tracking dry conditions and finally going to be back to the upper 60s, potentially even nearing 70 degrees by next Wednesday.
The Now newsfeed, a dean at a New Jersey university is stepping down over Chick-fil-A. Cynthia Newman called Rider University's decision not to consider bringing the fast food restaurant to campus a, quote, punch to the stomach. Newman said that she's a very committed Christian, says that her values are in line with that of the restaurants. The school didn't consider Chick-fil-A because of criticism that it feels it is against the LGBTQ community. Well, Amazon closing dozens of pop-up stores in the U.S. Many of them are kiosks in malls that sell Kindles and Echo speakers. Amazon said it's going to expand more of its bookstores to give customers a broader selection. Well, one of the most iconic images for really when it comes to spring is set for next month. The National Park Service says peak cherry blossom bloom expected between April 3rd and 6th in Washington, D.C. The Cherry Blossom Festival runs from March 20th to April 14th. Well, it has been a breakfast staple for more than a century. Today we're celebrating National Cereal Day. And then now Zandy Taylor has a look back at how it all started.
Everyone has a favorite cereal. I mean, how could you not? It's an American institution, and it's still so popular today that places like Cereal Box in Arvada, Colorado are snap, crackling, and popping up all over the place.
The love of cereal began more than 150 years ago when it was first invented. The first cold breakfast cereal, called Granula, was invented back in 1863 by James Caleb Jackson. A few years later, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg ran a health spa in Battle Creek, Michigan, where he created Corn Flakes. One of Kellogg's patients, C.W. Post, wanted to get in on the cereal creation and invented grape nuts.
About 1910, Battle Creek had over 100 cereal companies.
Kimber Thompson with the Calhoun, Michigan Visitor Bureau says because of Kellogg and Post, Battle Creek, Michigan is known as Cereal City, USA. Fast forward to the era of television.
That is what made the huge cereal boom during that time was Saturday morning cartoons.
Hi, I'm Tony the Tiger.
Tony the Tiger, the first animated cereal cartoon, along with dozens of others, brought the sugary treat into pop culture.
More sugary-based fun breakfast cereals have evolved, and now there's just tons of different variations of those classics. So Lucky Charms, there's now fruity Lucky Charms, chocolate Lucky Charms, leprechaun Lucky Charms.
Lori Hofer, the owner of Cereal Box, says no matter the decade, the sign of the times could be seen on a cereal box. From superhero films to Olympic gold medalists.
Wheaties is good tasting and good for you.
Thousands of cereals have been on the market, from the classics to the wackiest, and cereal connoisseur Olivia has tried them all.
I've never read a cereal I didn't like.
Before we leave you here, pop quiz. What is the best-selling cereal of all time? Well, if you guessed Honey Nut Cheerios, you're right. Honey Nut Cheerios. That's my favorite cereal with a little cream on top.
Oh, yeah.
What's yours?
Pretty good. As a kid, my favorite cereal was Raisin Bran, which is really weird for someone who's like 9 years old.
Says a lot about him, right?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but either way.
Frosted Flakes are pretty good.
Frosted Flakes are always pretty good. They get a little soggy, though. It's always working.
They do. You have to eat really fast.
All fast. All right, Annie, thanks. And next in our lineup, people around the world are crowding around phones and computers for story time. That story next. As technology advances, so is one of our favorite pastimes. Then Alex Kamasi showing us how one school principal is taking story time online.
Welcome to story time.
At this public library,
how about a book for you?
Old-fashioned story time.
Here we are. Whose knees are these?
Is one of the most popular programs.
They're interacting with me, they're responding to questions, they're rhyming.
But in the age of social media, a principal in Texas is offering children a more modern option.
Hi, scholars. Hi, it's Dr. George.
A digital version of story time. Tucked in Tuesday on Facebook Live with Dr. Belinda George.
You can't just stay stagnant. You'll lose the kids. You got to meet them where they are.
She got the idea before Christmas break.
And I knew I would miss my scholars.
So she decided to read them a story.
So I'm going to read my favorite book.
In her pajamas from her living room.
The next day they came and they were telling the kids, I saw Dr. George in her pajamas. Dr. George read a book. And the kids like, she read a book.
She decided to keep reading with the goal of bridging the gap between home and school.
So this is Howie has a stomach ache.
What started with 35 students from her Texas elementary school.
Oink, oink, Squirrel Howie. Oink, oink.
Has grown to hundreds of kids and parents around the world with comments like, watching from Mexico because my son needs to be read to in English and I can't always find English books, and tuning in with my 2nd and 5th graders from Arlington, Virginia. Thank you.
In my head, I'm doing something that I love and I'm doing something for kids. And so the attention that I'm getting is kind of like, I don't know the big deal yet.
Now authors are sending in books for her to read and even joining her during story time.
I wanted this book to show that everybody has a special place to be.
But Dr. George says what's most important is that her students are learning.
They're learning to read with expression. They're learning that their principal cares.
A new version of story time.
If nobody else tells you Dr. George loves you, good night, guys. Have a good night and rest well.
For the Now, I'm Kumasi Aaron.
Great stuff, Kamasi. Thank you. And tomorrow on the Now, we're going to introduce you to a group of women who aren't letting age get in the way of getting to the gym. How powerlifting is helping them live healthier lives, even as some get close to 100 years old. That story tomorrow here on the Now.
Coming up tonight on 11, 23 ABC News at 11, we continue to follow reports of suicide at the same home where an hours-old baby boy was found buried. Details on what police are saying now. Plus, a recent storm leading to heavy floods in Kern River Valley. We'll have the latest on the situation in the area. Again, we'll have these stories and so much more coming up on 23 ABC News tonight at 11. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later tonight.